How you doing? My name is David. I'll be talking about my internship at MassMutal. What did I, actually, the project I work on, what did I want to take away from it? Did I get it? How my classes related to the job, and the things I learned while working there. First off, I want to talk about some of the tools that I use. These aren't all the tools I use, but these were the tools that I lean on the most. The first would be ThreatStream. ThreatStream is basically a collection of all the IOCs, which are indicators of compromise. Anything associated with a malicious software, malicious website, certain type of attack from a user is stored in this one place. File hashes, URLs, IPs, all of that will be cross-referenced with a lot of the other tools to generate alerts or to tell you, hey, something's wrong here, you want to check this out. The second will be Carbon Black. Carbon Black is actually a two-part tool. The first part is what we see as analysts. It shows your downloads, what you access, what websites you went to, what programs are running, and what is spawning off of those programs. The second part is actually a sensor on everything that MassMutal distributes. Phones, laptops, thing sets, anything that's a MassMutal piece of property, they'll put these sensors on before they give it to their associates. This way they have that protection. Because if you're compromised, you bring it to work, you're not compromising the whole business. The third would be Archer and QRadar. Archer and QRadar has a set amount of rules. Let's say an IP, if the IP is pinged more than 100 times in a minute, it's the suspected DOS attack. So it'll make an alert for that, and we're supposed to go in there, look at it, investigate it, see if it's truly an attack, and determine if we need to remediate it, if it's a false positive, or things of those nature. Splunk is actually a huge packet capture, but instead of giving you all this information, it actually makes it to searchable fields. So let's say we have a IP that's compromised, but we don't know the device name, we don't know the user, we don't know anything about it, but just the IP. We can actually put it in Splunk. It'll get everything basically related to that IP, and from there we can find out who's the user, what the traffic was, what the user was doing, and we can determine if it's been compromised or not. Proofpoint is a point used that actually uses ThreatStream. Emails that are coming from suspected malicious websites, malicious users, malicious IPs are flagged. It gives us what users were basically associated with it, who was compromised, if it's a URL, who clicked it, if it was an attachment, who downloaded it. That's just to educate that user for later that, hey, you might not want to click things that you don't know where they're coming from. But it also lets us know these are the amount of users. We need to look at their devices to see if they've been compromised or not. From there, we would take that, pull all the emails using those IOCs that are associated with that one email, pull them off from the site, quarantine them, and block the user, the URL, and everything else to where we don't have that same problem again. What I did as far as my job is, I looked at suspicious behavior, external pings from IPs that we don't know, persistence. Basically, you have one application, one process that's repeatedly spawning itself. We look and see if is this malicious, is this a false positive, and we either remediate or mark as false positive so we can adjust the rule for later on. I looked at emails that were flagged as suspicious, determine if there was an attack, if it was malicious, if it was a false positive, if it was just a nuisance email. I looked at employees' downloads to see if what they were downloaded, has it been repackaged, is it legitimate, look at the file hash to see if it was truly from whoever it says it was from, or was it just just made it look like Flash Player. A lot of the alerts we got was from Flash Players because they had a lot of vulnerabilities, and quite a few of them were just repackaged software that had malicious programs installed into it, to where when you ran it, it looked like you were running a Flash Player install, but it was consistently dropping other malicious malware with it. Those are the things we were looking for, and if we found it, it can go from just, hey, you need to delete this, and run a semantic to see if it's off of there, or you need to take this to IT because we have to wipe it because it's persistent and you can't just delete it and get rid of it. We looked at a variety of alerts. One is QRadar. A lot of those alerts were false positives, but we did find a lot of them that were indeed malicious attacks that if we did not look at it, it could have been something very, very, very bad. We checked spam. The spam box is actually huge there because every associate, they can send spam to it. We get spam to it itself, and we look and see, is it truly a spam email, mark it as spam to where it automatically pulls it out, or is it someone doing a phishing attack? Is it someone doing the URL spoofing? And a lot of times that was the case too. You look at this, buy 15 boxes of condoms, but when you click it, it's sending you a totally different website that, how can I say, when we run a packet capture, we see that it's dropping malware in the background that a normal user wouldn't see. So we have to block that URL. We typically don't try to block the IPs because some IPs are associated with several different things. And there's been times where we block an IP and end up blocking something that we did not want to use. Like a lot of your host serving sites. They're a host serving site, their IP is used as such, but if you block that one IP, you're blocking the whole host server. So a lot of times when you do that, what happens is you're blocking important things as well. So we typically want to block the URLs. The project that I did, we had two parts, two teams. I was located in Phoenix. We had another team located in Springfield, Mass. My team was basically in charge of looking at signatures, identifying them, seeing what they were attacking. We have home office, we have field users. Where in the company was it attacking? Was it attacking more at a lower level, people that are doing the mass calls? Was it attacking a higher level with spear phishing? Was it attacking CEOs? We found that a lot of it was more along the lines of mass emails to the lower levels to see who exactly is going to respond to it, who is clicking on it, and that's where a concentration of it was. Surprisingly, the field offices, they don't have as many restrictions because they're a subsidiary of MassMutal, but they had less attacks because they were less in quantity. Like MassMutual home office has several thousand employees, while the field office have a fraction of that. It's literally like one office with 5 people in it. So we found out that more along the lines of the home office was being attacked. But the second team was in charge of taking our information, making a physical map, and basically charting where the attacks are coming from, who were they attacking, and things of that nature. It came out pretty well, but I don't know, I can't speak on the other teams, what they got out of it. What we got out of it, we basically found we basically got more comfortable looking at signatures, looking to see what kind of attacks it is, their behaviors, what they do, and it makes it where we can identify them a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. The most important thing I want to get out of the experience, you can get the best grades ever. If you have 0 experience, it's not impossible. It makes it more difficult to find a job. So I wanted to get hands-on experience in the field I wanted to go to and see exactly, one, if I would enjoy it. The second thing I wanted to get was I wanted to know what kind of skill set I needed. What programming language should I be strong in? What tools would I be using? I found out that a lot of this is less programming, more analysis work, but I found that writing scripts makes it a lot easier. So I want to be stronger in Python because a lot of the analysts there were using Python to write simple scripts to pull all the information they needed out of Splunk, to where they weren't sitting there writing these long programs to do the same thing. I also wanted to know what I need to do to find a job, and after I graduated, what I need to do what I need to do next. That was less the job and more asking questions. I worked with 5 other analysts, and I asked them, what would I need to do to become stronger? What would I need to do with things? They gave me a lot of tools that I can use to get better at this type of job. They told me what certificates I would need to get, and they told me how to get them. One of the things is Security Plus, entry level, does a job, issuing the door, but a lot of your companies will pay for you to get your certificates. I had a gentleman Keating, I had a gentleman that I worked with, he was getting a certification that cost $4,000, but the company was footing the whole bill. They put the bill for their recertifications. Gentleman, that's a tier 3 analyst, they spent $12,000 on his recertifications. Coming out of pocket for that is not as simple as just them going in, signing a paper, telling you what you need, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So in the long run, I knew that I wanted to basically find a company that would help me get it, and most of all, money. I know being an intern, I'm going to get paid less than what somebody's in this field doing if they graduated from, but it gives me a measuring stick to see, hey, I'm getting paid well now as an intern. When I get out into the field, will I be able to support, will I be able to make a living? And it made me more comfortable knowing that this career that I'm going in, not only can I see myself doing it for 10, 20 years, I see myself doing it and living well, which is one thing that I mean to say, no matter how much you love your job, you can't make a living doing it. You're gonna have to do other things. These are the classes that I related to doing this. The first 3 I'm actually taking this semester, but I saw a lot of it being used in this field. They have a red team, which are ethical hackers. Their job is to find ways to penetrate the system, to locate vulnerabilities, to use, for us to use as a blue team to strengthen our system. The digital forensics. There was many times that a compromised device would come in and they would ask the team to, hey, I need you to reverse engineer this, see when it was installed, what it's doing, how it was installed, so we can stop this for next time. So many times there was a device that brought in and they would spend days reverse engineering to find out when it was. And they had to go through the registries of 2 years one time to find it, because this gentleman was basically infected 3 different times to where the attacker had remote control of his whole device and he never knew until I think the 3rd time we caught it, because when they were accessing it, he was on our system. So we saw the suspicious behavior, quarantined his device, confiscated it, he got another one, and we used to find out what happened. The other 3, it basically let me know, 1, what kind of security that you need, the behaviors of certain attacks, cross-site scripting, DDoS, things like that. It helped me realize, what behavior should I be looking for. One thing that I saw the most being used was something called a cyber kill chain. This is 7 steps that any attacker must do to get access to your system, basically to infiltrate your system. The easiest way to put it is, to defeat your enemy, you must know your enemy. With this, you can find out what behaviors to look for, what step are they in, so you know basically how to stop it. Reconnaissance. How many people have you ever gotten an email that just says, hey, or a call where you answer and they hang up? They're trying to see who's on the other end. With emails, they're trying to see who's going to respond. We've gotten hundreds of emails in a day of them just sending it to different associates just saying, hello, how are you? It doesn't seem serious, but the people that respond to that email, even who are you, or I don't know you, are more likely to click on a link that they don't know, because they're responding to an email of somebody that they have no idea who it is. Weaponization. Oh, my bad. With that, we look at 1, anonymous users. We block those users. We make sure they don't have access to the system. We look at people probing our system. We block those IPs. That's to stop that one. Weaponization is just repackaging of existing programs, be it legitimate, be it malicious, to fit the criteria of what the attackers are looking for. With that, we can't do too much on our end, but making sure our firewall is active, our virus is up to date, our software is up to date. Delivery, it's another aspect of how is it being delivered. Random emails, we block those. USBs, they actually make it to where you can't bring a USB in there and hook it up, because if your USB is compromised, you're putting an infected device into their system. So they basically shut that down completely. Exploit is using vulnerabilities that already are known to see if they can basically infect your system. We had an issue where about 5,000 thin tops or thin set of clients were not updated for a known vulnerability. One gentleman brought in his device that was infected from the house. It went from one compromised device to about 4,000 in 3 days. All because it was not, basically a patch wasn't updated. So that is something that making sure your system's up to date, making sure your viruses, your virus scans are up to date, making sure any patches are installed, making sure your software is up to date. Installation, that's just the installation of the device. Carbon black usually is what we rely on that. When you install anything, carbon black finds it. It sees it, it makes a process tree. When it's being installed, we can see whatever else is installing with that. Doesn't matter if it's in the background, in the foreground, if it's being installed in that system, the sensors pick it up. So we can see, okay, the flash player is installing, why isn't it installing 3 other devices that have to do with flash player? So in those situations we see that, we quarantine, we remediate the device, we isolate that device. Command and control, it's, how can I say, most malicious software is not autonomous. It needs to have a command, it needs to have something telling it what to do. If it's at this stage, what we can do is we can quarantine that device, isolate it to where it can't reach out to the attacker to get commands. It's basically a bomb without fuse. It's still malicious, it still can do things, but it has no way to get access to those commands to do it. And actions, that's what it's going to execute. Hands on, the attacker has access to your system. By this point, there's really not a whole lot you can do but isolate that system and try to do damage control. See who else has been compromised, remediate those devices, and move on. I learned the biggest attack surface is users. Common sense isn't as common as you think. Many times, just random emails being sent to people, links that are being clicked that shouldn't be. That's really what I saw most at this company. On a daily basis, we had, just me alone, I had about 20 to 40 senders that I blocked on a daily basis. We're just sending random links, this and that, were known to be malicious. Proof points, people that have clicked. I had myself about 5 or 6 people that clicked random URLs that they had no idea who it came from. But we caught it, we blocked it, but if we didn't catch it, what would have happened? So that's the biggest attack surface I've seen. The certifications, talking to the other analysts, they basically gave me a list of certification and tools that I would need to become a better security analyst. These are those certifications. Security Plus is just basically entry-level stuff. From there, I'm trying to get a job to help pay for the rest of it. I learned I learned the process, I learned how to trace it, I learned the questions to ask. Why is it calling out? Who is it calling out to? Are the hashes matching up with what it's saying it is? Things of that nature. And I also learned, don't take for what you see for face value. Most attacks aren't just, I'm attacking. Most of them are indirect, most of them are covert. You have to go below the level to see. And 2 things will happen. Either you reassure, you reaffirm that this is a false positive, this is legit, or you find something else that shouldn't be there. Either way, you need to go more than just that first level. We will basically go down 2. We will look at the process tree, look at the file hash, look at the IP, look at the activity, and that's for every single alert we have. Seeing what file mods are being made, seeing what registries are being created, because those are things you want to look at to see. It takes a little bit longer, but for the most part, most businesses are ready to take the extra step to not, and then they get negative press, they get lost files, lost information, things like that, which is more serious than an extra 5 minutes.